touched that.
All right. Okay. Welcome everyone. It is the regular city council meeting for Monday, May 9th, 2022. I will call the meeting to order. If we'd all stand up and say the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, that makes me feel better.
Thank you. Can I roll call, please, Teresa?
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Matt Girardi.
Yep.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Rich Peterson.
Yes.
Number 4, approval of agenda. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Is anything on there? If not, I'll ask for a motion to approve.
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Matt Girardi.
Yep.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Rich Peterson.
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Okay, number 5, I believe we can skip. Right, Teresa?
Right.
Okay. So number 6, the consent agenda. Does anybody have any questions, comments, concerns with anything on there? Anything that was in your packet?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as submitted.
Second, please.
Second.
Roll call.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
J.T. Thompson.
Yes.
Rich Peterson.
Yes.
Matt Girardi.
Yep.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, number 7, discuss and consider approval of a quote from County Line Concrete for ditch improvements by the St. Joseph Catholic Church. We have Quinn here tonight, and Elvis, and Gary.
Gary's with me. Gary's right
Okay.
there.
Yep. And so, I guess just touching back on last meeting, we tabled it. We were kind of looking for a little bit more information on exactly what the plan was. I guess what the scope, a little bit more detail as far as the Quint on your end. So I guess Quint, if you want to lead off and kind of just tell everybody kind of what your plans are.
We put together a quote that was the area in front of the church, obviously where the water's been sitting. We were going to go 11 foot wide at both ends where the storm sewer dumps in. We need to get underneath that and get our concrete underneath there and kind of have a wall on the backside and then kind of taper it down. Now it was going to be kind of a gradual U. There's enough fall, but it's tight in that distance, 485 feet. So we're going to kind of just have, the way that ditch is, I don't know what the exact measurements would be, but our forms would kind of be dug into the bank on both sides. The biggest thing is going to be is keep that dirt afterwards, keep that dirt and seeding and sod, whatever we do, to get that right up tight to the new concrete so that nothing can undermine. And then everything would dump into that and flow out of there. With the minimal amount of fall, I can't say that there won't be, after a storm, that there won't be some wet spots, a few small puddles on the concrete in the ditch, but they'll be gone, in a day or two afterwards. I attempted to do a drawing. I'm not the best drawer in the world, but I guess if you guys have any questions on it, I can try my best to answer them.
I guess one of the main questions too, I think from last meeting, and speak up if I'm not asking right, but on the street side, I guess what were you thinking as far as how far up you were coming? Because that's kind of a steep slope there. What was your plan for that side?
I think when we measured it, we would be, I guess if you're looking at it, I would call it roughly halfway up that bank.
Okay.
And that's where our forms and our concrete would have to be So Dwayne Cundy would be doing the excavating and prep work, which we would have to be there with him and get it kind of precise to where he digs it out to where our forms are put in basically right up tight into the bank, so that any water coming down there, we gotta get the water on top of that, otherwise it's just gonna undermine it, it's not gonna work. But I would say, I don't know the exact measurements, but I would say for a rough guess, if we're looking at it, about halfway up that bank for the concrete.
So from halfway up to the street, it's just gonna be grass there too, or is that gonna be gravel, or what's the plan?
There,
On the street side?
everything that we've talked with, as far as me and Dwayne Cundy, it was kind of like grass, either sod or some seeding to
Okay.
get that grass back in there so that the water, if you put rock in there, I feel like rock kind of is designed to let the water drain through, and I think it'll eventually get through and start eroding. The biggest problem is gonna be is that, if we do this, we probably wanna try to do this in the driest, dog days of summer, to where we can have the longest stretch of dry weather we can, and then get that either sod or seeding, whatever we get, back in there and get that to firm up and not let the water just go right underneath. But yeah, after the fact, I would envision our concrete, trough per se through that ditch, and then grass right up to the concrete. I mean, you'd be mowing grass right next to the concrete.
You said Cundy's doing the excavating, is that part of the quote?
Yes, that should be on that quote. Yeah, excavation of ditch for concrete to be placed, and then I got Cundy excavating in quotation marks. Yeah, so that's on that bid.
I didn't put it in your packet again.
Oh,
It's
that
in
makes sense.
last.
You want one? I got an extra copy here.
We got it from last.
Okay.
So I know a couple questions we had last time we talked about Clint were, so I think, and you answered with your forms, the uniformity on the sides. So obviously it's gonna be uniform and straight because you're gonna have forms on the sides.
Yes.
So from the center, let's just say this is the center of the ditch to your sides, are you talking 2 foot, 3 foot, 4 foot?
It's probably from the bottom of the trough
In the center?
to the top of the end of the concrete. I would say it's probably gonna be in that 2 foot to 3 foot range. I mean, we're 11 foot wide, and just that gradually, and it might be more, and it might be higher on the ditch side than it is on the church side. I think we wanna do it, whatever is gonna work the best and last the longest and do the job. Now, so if that means on the ditch side that we're 3 foot up, and on the church side we're 2 foot up, because all that water from the church, flows in there.
Understood. But it's gonna be uniform on side to side.
It'll be a straight, yeah, we'll run.
The north side will be the same and the south
Yes,
side.
yes.
And then, we all know you talked about the driest part, that's one thing, you look at that thing, and it's gotta be extremely dry, because it'll dry the water sitting in it, we all know that the prep is the main thing, that it doesn't settle and crack, and you talked about water getting underneath it, so.
Yep.
Would your plan to be to do, you're gonna try to do half in case you have bad weather, or what would your?
My plan would be to have, as soon as Dwayne sets up to start excavating it out there, we're there right on top of him. We talked about doing so it's let's say 500 feet long, 485 feet, whatever. We plan on probably doing 100-foot pours at a time, which could, in the dog days of summer, we could pour 100 feet in the morning, strip, set, pour, and pour 200, pour another 100 feet. I mean, for the way I'm envisioning it, I don't want to be spending more than a week on it. So I want to start, ideally, if we would start on Monday, but if we see a week where there's very low chance of rain, and we start, and we go, and we knock it out. I mean, that's the way we want to do it.
Makes sense. In thickness, what was your thickness?
I think 5 inches. 5 inches thick with fiberglass rebar on number 3, fiberglass on 3 foot squares. Because I don't think that the weight load is an issue at all. It's it's stopping the undermining, which honestly it doesn't, I mean, I guess if it was 8 inches thick and it got undermined, it'd probably hold up a little bit longer than if it was 5 inches thick, but it's gonna eventually fail if that undermining is happening. So that's probably the most important part of this whole.
You spread your weight out, like
Yeah.
you're doing it, but it's just,
Yeah.
come on, makes sense.
As far as, I know Jack gave me some notes from the last meeting, I remember one, I didn't bring that sheet, but I know one of them was as far as the smoothness or the texture of the final product, and we would broom finish it just like we would a street, you know, a driveway, you know, just a light broom finish, you know.
What's your plans, Quinn, if you get into that, start digging it, say it hasn't rained for a few weeks, but you still start getting into the middle of it and it's mush, are you, I mean,
Well,
I know you
that-
can put a
that-
rock underneath it, but are you worried about that at all?
Yes and no, I guess, the way we do it with the streets, because that's just an unknown,
Right.
is that, and normally I just don't include any fill on my quotes. This one, I included some fill, and probably, with the number I put on there, I would think, unless we ran into pretty,
Serious issue.
yeah, unforeseen issues, then this should cover it.
Yeah.
If we end up, when we pull our strings and shoot our grade across the whole slope, you know, if it some areas we might be just skimming the sod and the mud just out of there and then putting in 8 inches of rock just to get it up to grade.
Right.
The whole, I would say that I plan on having the whole base have 4 inches of subgrade compacted rock underneath.
Okay.
Some areas are gonna be more obviously where there's low spots. But kind of like, when we do the streets, we just don't know, until we tear it out, and so, in a lot of these streets in town that we replace, it's mush, and it has to be cored out
Right.
and compacted, but this, I don't think is gonna be as bad. You know, if it had concrete over top of it and was undermining for years, then yes, it would be I think it would be similar to the streets, and we'd be looking at, probably a few more thousand in rock to core it out and bring it back up, but I'm anticipating this not to have that bad of a problem.
So are you telling us that if you need more rock, then the bid goes up a little bit, or?
Yeah, but there's.
And that's understandable, I'm not.
That's fair.
Yeah.
That's, you put some in there to cover yourself, and I think you're adequate on, that, but you
Yeah.
don't know the opportunity. I think one thing that would help out, if it goes through before you do it, is a couple weeks. Right now, it retains so much water in certain areas, to have Cundy or somebody skim it so you have a straight flow for your water, so it can dry out. Right now, it can not rain for a month, and there's still water sitting in certain areas.
Well,
But
that's
if you
not
get your
bad.
flow to
If you
go,
Get that flow. That water sit there forever.
yeah,
Yeah.
just little ponds all over the place.
I guess, I'm kinda for it, we want it to obviously look nice too, cause everybody drives by there,
Absolutely.
church, and,
Oh, I agree, that
we want it to look, I know it's a ditch that just funnels water, but obviously I would like that to look.
Oh, I agree 100%. Our name's gonna be on it when, everybody's gonna drive by and see us working there, and that's, well, it'll have a nice finish to it,
Just spray paint its name on it. so
Name
everybody
on it,
knows.
whatever you want to do, I want all my kids to be riding their skateboard down.
I was just thinking, that's gonna be,
Yeah.
County Line Concrete, put his phone number right on it.
I guess, to me, I don't know, I guess I go back to the conversation we had, at the last meeting, as far as, big picture, the church has gracefully, committed to go 50-50 with us on this, but I guess, it needs to be council's decision and directive on, how this project goes, how they see it. It's been, obviously, like Elvis said, it's been an issue for, 35 years, 30 years since the church was built,
The church is built,
this will solve that issue and you know, bring a resolution to the washing out and all that good stuff. But I guess I go back to on the other hand, I go back to the council and kind of the not the new way of thinking, but, you know, this council has been very progressive and wanting to do things, you know, 100% and not trying to, no offense to the term, but Band-Aid stuff. You know, we wanted to do it right the first time, and if it costs a little bit more money, then it costs a little bit more money. Hopefully, you know, that pays off in the long run. So I guess getting back to that, you know, like, it's council's, you know, decision on what they see, if this is the route they want to go, or if we try to look at it big picture. And, you know, and honestly, it's been brought up to my attention too, and, you know, we talked about the new subdivision out there and trying to gear it towards, you know, families and trying to hopefully get a few young families out there and you know, but there's no sidewalks connecting that to the church, or there's no sidewalk connecting that to the school. Big picture, what is the council's vision for this? Is it something we want to address now? We want to go this route and it solves the problem for a while, or do we want to go all in and do it the right way, 100%, so it's done and we can check it off and we never have to address it hopefully again? I guess there's two ways of thinking, two ways of looking at this in my viewpoint. So again, it's council's decision. So
I had to talk to Mark Rudin about some different things today. So I did ask him, you know, as far as just that project, the ditch, because we do have the quote from Anstetter for $148,000. So that puts us above the threshold where we have to go out to bid, and we would need engineering. So I just said, so approximately, do you think, are we looking like around a $200,000 project? And he said yes. That would probably hit it pretty close by the time you go out to bid and you do all that, so.
And I called Mark today too and had him send me what he talked about last week. It was 15 years ago, you know, he talked about when the city looked at it last, and they had the 4 different things you could do: the French drains, the, what do you call that, mesh put in the bottom and stuff, and then the placement of the storm sewer pipe. And he said, you know, Amsterders are do a good job, and you can trust their quote that it'd be a fair quote, so that'd be a good price range to go by. But when I talked to him about engineering, he said you really don't, you connect one pipe to the other, is what it comes down to. You know, they said it's been 15 years ago since they did their study, that there's different engineers now, so they might look at it different, you know, but you have the study. You know, the study stated that one thing to worry about would be backing up into the church parking lot, if my direction's right, on the east side. You know, and that water could sit up there to an hour. Might be a problem, might not. But that's a simple fix. You could put in an inlet, just like you do on the streets. So, I guess I got a little bit, not to contradict at all, but a little bit different feeling on cost, that we wouldn't have much engineering cost in it, that we could pretty much, again, you have to put out the bid, you know, if you're gonna be over that threshold, you know, but, and that could, and I asked him the question, could that mean it'd be anywhere from 100,000 to 200,000, depending on your bid? He said, obviously, you know, the more people you bid, you know, you'll have a better range. And then that's when, again, he said Amsterders usually comes in pretty fair, that'd be a good number to work on as far as just that, the work job itself, you know, and go from there. So I'm on I talked to Mark a lot, and I asked him, you know Mark speaks very soft-spoken, and you don't get much of an opinion out of him. Yeah, but I asked Mark for his opinion on would it be a good thing to do what we're proposing, you know, just what Quint would do. And again, thanks Quint, you know, I think you're hitting all the targets we want if we do it that way. I think it would look and work like we want it to. But Mark said, you know, there's different ways to look at that. You need to ask yourself the question, I think he nailed it, is what do you want out of it? Is this something that you're gonna do and and you're gonna leave it for 30 years, you know, or I'm putting ad-libbing here a little bit, or it's gonna be a 3-year project. Because if it's gonna be a 3-year project, you know, don't waste your money, because it's not meeting your goal. Then you put your storm sewer in, if you're gonna do sidewalks and all that kind of stuff. But if you're gonna do what it's gonna do there for 30 years, then it's gonna meet your needs. You know, it all depends on the vision you want, is what it comes down to. And that's, I guess that's what you alluded to. You know, what do we want? It's been 35 years, and 15 years ago, the council talked about it. I mean, we had it on our little list. We know it's one of our topics we want to do. Again, you know, 100 and a half or whatever it is compared to 40,000, that's a big difference. It's a huge difference. But I guess I keep going back to, and I'm not sold one way or the other. Don't get me wrong. I'm very open. Like I said, I'm on the fence here, and Quint helped answer a lot of the questions we had. But when we put in Harvest Heights, and we keep adding to our West Side Park, you know, to draw more people and make it more friendly, and people want to use it that much more. When you drive, I had somebody tell me, when you drive down School Street, and whether it's, you know, Wednesday nights religion or what it is, or something, you know, there's a herd of cattle going down the street because there's no sidewalks. I don't know. I've got mixed feelings that we're adding more out there, and we're not giving safe access to do that. Would the sidewalk go exactly over top of what we're talking about? I don't know. I can't say it would or wouldn't. I'm not sure about that. The only thing I'm saying is we don't have that vision. We haven't talked about it enough. I just don't want us to. I'm not saying jump into it because it's been 35 years. So don't take me wrong. Nobody's jumped into it, but I'm just a little reluctant to say we should do it right now without. What is our vision? What is the big picture? What do we want? Is this something we could, not to drag it out any longer, but do we need to look at it a little bit more in depth and what it all entails? Because if we do this, we're going to want to live with it for a while.
To me, in my opinion, like, again, I don't have a vote in this. This is council's decision. I will support either way. Either way will be better than what's out there currently. To me, it's all priority. That's what it boils down to. Is priority. The streets and sidewalks have been a priority for this council for the last few years. Is that a big enough priority to undertake that entire project, or is it something else on another side of town? Is it in you know, the industrial park, which granted that's going to kind of be up for discussion now too, with the latest developments. But you know, I guess to me that's what it all boils down to is what's council's priority, and is it high enough on that list to to hold off and justify sticking 150,000 into it. To me, I guess in my opinion, this is just me talking, that is the biggest hurdle to getting connectivity for sidewalks to that end of town. I might be wrong on that. I don't know. Somebody else has another opinion, but
Yeah, to a point, but going down School Street, I just brought up the map, we don't have anything on the south side, pretty much.
We have 3 options on the wall
Yep.
there. We'll be talking about that.
Gotcha. But, you know, they talk about going down, they see a hurdle of kids going down School Street to the church. Well, they don't need to go around the block in front of the church to get into the church. I mean, right? You're gonna, if you're walking from here, you're gonna walk all the way around to enter. No, you're just gonna kick over.
Right.
So to have a sidewalk here to connect, we have connectivity. It's right here. It's a non-traveled road. I mean, that,
You're talking the parking lot.
yeah, the parking lot, you know, to connect that, we'd save $100 grand by doing it this way, would solve our problem. And you're still connected. And I don't know, that, you know, people from this direction towards the west can make it to the church. People coming School Street from the east can make it. We really need to have a sidewalk out front. It would look nice, but I mean,
You're talking about a sidewalk, say, for that 400
over where
feet.
we're talking about doing this drainage ditch project.
Don't you think the majority of the people in there, once they got to the west entrance, would just
Yeah, that
go
was
into the parking lot and utilize?
kind of my thought.
Yeah, and I agree. my point was kind of disconnected to the other blocks of town. You can go around back, and you most definitely can.
Yeah.
There's, like I said, there's a lot of different ways to do it.
Yeah.
I guess my biggest selling point to this is we have, you know, a partner here that's willing to pay half the cost. So it's not 40,000, it's, you know.
20,000 a year and a half.
Yeah, it's
So
20,000.
what if you did 20,000 and you decided to
Can this
do
be?
something different in 10 years? That's
I think it's been put on.
$2,000 a year, that's not, you know.
Yeah, that's how I look at it. It's gonna cost 20,000. Hopefully this lasts a long time. If we do get around to the vision, I have the same vision you guys got, as we cross that bridge when we get here. I mean, it's not, we're not looking at 100,000 here, you know. I mean, we got people putting money towards this project.
Would you also contribute if we did the storm sewer, would you contribute 20,000 towards that, as long as the problem got fixed, or is the money totally towards, again, it's a big difference, it's half.
Sure. Half of 100,000.
Or is your 20,000 just towards the project we're talking about?
I think they asked for a commitment from the parish, and it would be towards fixing that, and I think, yes.
Either way, we would contribute up to $25,000 to fix the problem. Whether that putting it towards the big picture, but I mean, there again, we don't know when that is. Because the other thing with, quote, waiting to address the big picture is that we have to do something temporarily. I mean, we've had already the people that were mowed the first two times, have already voiced their opinion. We've taken it with grace, but we need to do something, whether it be wait for the cities, you know, share that project, or we need to go back and do something temporary.
So is the parish happy with how this would be?
Yes. Don't you?
Yeah, I think in general, yes, we are. I think our main concern would be on our side of the ditch, just so it was constructed so they couldn't drive right into it with a lawnmower. Because most of this really started developing out of, personally have a real fear that somebody's gonna dump a lawnmower in there and get hurt. That's the biggest fear that I have, and that is probably not out of the realm because people just try to cut everything they can cut.
There's something, we put a grate over top of that?
Well,
I'd say 11.
I don't know if.
Well, that's 11 foot, that's a big grate, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, I don't know that we need a grate over it. We may just brainstorm a little bit about, do we leave that edge slightly up? Or do we just, maybe we mesh that out with a fabric and put rock a foot or two out so that we're not mowing the edge.
Right up to the edge of the project.
I mean, that might be a little bit of a fix on our side of it. And we- yeah. And obviously, there's, the other question I would have is, it's not gonna cause a problem with utilities there, is it, anywhere? As far as, I don't think, I think they cross under, but they don't run down the ditch.
Yeah, it does, I think it's parallel to that.
Yeah, they're parallel to it, but they don't run down the ditch.
I don't, nothing I know of.
I guess we want to verify that. I mean, Jack was here last meeting, and whether you use storm sewer, either one.
When
mean, it's the same.
When I
Yeah.
had Roger, not that he, just as representing the Preston telephone company, obviously he has knowledge of other things there. And he and I talked, and he was dead, he had no concerns about our excavating there in regards to buried cables and stuff like that on the south side of School Street.
And if there's anybody that would know in this town, that is the individual.
Yeah, Jack and I.
Again, we
had-
want to double check all
Right,
that.
and we can do that, but, like, not talking for him, but he told me that he had no problems, no concerns about anything in the ditch on the south side of School Street, in that area.
Yeah, otherwise, I think as far as finance council, we were in favor of going ahead and doing something. And as Dennis said, if the big picture really is that maybe we don't want to do anything for another couple of years, then we'll probably, I
I did talk to another contractor about just coming in, filling the holes and leveling it off. So at least our guys aren't dropping more and they're tipping more on top of themselves. And nothing more than that. And at this point, that's only been talked about. Or we tell them, we run some we have to talk to our more guys, say, you just don't go down there, don't even try to mow anything down until it's worked out, but your big picture is a legitimate item, and the fact that this thing hasn't been dealt with over the last 15 years maybe is partially because of the big picture and partially because of cost, but, you know, it's, I think it's a legitimate point that you're gonna have to discuss and deal with. But I don't know that putting a 485-foot sidewalk down all the way along there would help anybody, because I don't think kids would walk that way. They'll cut across that parking lot every time.
Good input.
I mean, they
Well,
will.
put a sidewalk in all day, won't it?
It's safer that direction anyway,
Yeah.
keep them off that main
Yeah.
drag.
Rich, you have something?
Yeah, Rick, what's your?
I understand your concern over one person on a garden tractor, but if one kid gets smoked on that street, there's gonna be a hell of a lot more concern over that one kid than that one person on that lawnmower. I really don't wanna go through with that.
We may go into the ditch and get hurt.
Yeah, one person doing that, that's one thing. If one kid gets, and I've been saying this before, we've talked about it. And sometimes it's almost like Mardi Gras. When you're coming down School Street, they're running around willy-nilly, yeah, free. Realizing the fact, you say yes, if you put a sidewalk in there on School Street, they won't use it anyway. I don't know. I don't wanna have something bad happen.
Agree with you 100%. But I'm only talking about the section in front of the 400.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
Okay.
Yep,
We're still on there.
we're good on that, yeah.
Right.
You go half a block with nothing.
Even if you put sidewalk there, I mean,
Yeah.
you're not connected to anything.
No, but you gotta come, whether you cross the street and go in front of what Rollins used to live with Deer Rock, somehow you have to connect it all.
Right, yeah. But I'm saying is that the cost doesn't end there. I mean, there's gonna be.
Correct.
Oh, yeah.
You're gonna have to go other directions. and
Right.
It's gonna be more.
Yep. Somehow you gotta get to that side, whether you go around behind like Matt is or whatever, because, you know, you don't want it running through your parking lot at West Side Park. So you gotta cross to the south sometime in that block right there.
Yeah. Well, I think the main thing is the water issue, and
Well, I mean, it's a water issue, but
but
like
it
Gary
also
said, it's a
ties in
safety.
everything else.
It's
Yeah.
safety issue.
Well, when, you know, just, if you look at the big thing, there's just a lot going on. When we do, the McNeil property, with the developer comes in and stuff, were we talking doing any storm sewer stuff right away, or was that gonna be pushed off a few years?
It's going to need to be done right away.
Okay?
I mean,
So-
within a year.
I mean, so just that being said, there's a possibility that if you're doing something like that, you could tie another project like this in. You're gonna have a contractor in town, so I would think you should be able to get a little decrease, because you're gonna have a bigger project at that point.
Well, I would hope we can, I'm checking into if we can get some grant money, which would be specific to that project,
To which one?
the McNeil property.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you're gonna bring a contractor in to do the work.
So maybe then.
So you can tie them together, and you should be able to get a better deal if you have one big project versus one small project. You should, I would think. you'd
I
be able
see
to-
what you're saying, and they, since they're here, going to another project.
Exactly. You should, I would think you'd be able to get the Catholic Church project a little cheaper because you have something else to tie it with. They're not coming to town for just one small job.
Yeah. Yes, Rich.
Number one, I'm gonna call it the Catholic Church project. Number two, I'm gonna call it your Harvest Heights or Marvin Second Edition. you've just doubled the housing over there. How are those kids gonna get back to school safely? As far as applying for a grant, I would just definitely play that card just as hard as I could.
Well, and that's gotta be something that's discussed with what these other kids have done. I mean, that's looking at part of this issue, but another issue.
Well, you need safety for the kids to, you know,
Yeah.
for egress and access
Yeah.
back and forth,
Mhm.
as far as applying for a grant.
But the grant that I'm looking at is for stormwater right now for
That's fine and dandy. Are there other grants available for
safe sidewalks to school.
safety's a big card?
Yeah,
You got the safety card right here.
And then,
Yeah, because I mean, I get probably 95% of them cut through the back way, but I have seen them, I have seen it where they're along the highway, or along the street there, where we're talking. So, does it happen every day? No, probably not, but.
What's your thought, Adam? 'Cause I'm gonna throw this out here in a minute, so I want.
Well, I mean, I'm just like everybody else, I think I'm kind of torn. I mean, I think there needs to be sidewalk connectivity. You know, I just don't know, does it need to be right there? I guess is my biggest question. You know, kind of like to Matt's point, you know, can we go another direction and still accomplish that? You know, and then they can get their project completed now, you know, and then, you know, it's like I said, if you put a sidewalk there now, I mean, you're just laying down one piece of the puzzle. You got a lot of other pieces to figure out from there.
Yeah, no, most definitely. There's a lot of different ways to look at it. And I don't think it's fair to anybody to, whatever's decided, I think we need to move forward with some sort of project to get this accomplished.
Well, yeah, if
To
this
address the
doesn't-
safety concerns on everything we're discussing, plus the safety concerns for mowing, and again, 35 years is too long to put up with something like that.
Yeah.
It shouldn't have went as long as it
a
did.
sidewalk be put in, even to the south side if we go ahead with this, I mean, can you not put a sidewalk here?
The church law sidewalk
And then-
road in
I
the
was just
front,
thinking about that.
in the
Because
front
you
of
look,
the
because the
church.
street's wider anyway, the street is wider, the street goes over the storm sewer, so the sidewalk would be even closer to the church anyway, and
That would get rid of your concern of getting too close to that ledge anyway. If you had, what sidewalk is
4 foot.
4 foot,
I figured for
there's your undermining fix. I would assume that would help.
You mean right up next to, like,
Put the sidewalk right up to the,
Yeah,
To the
up to-
ditch.
I mean, riding bikes and stuff might be a little,
you know,
Sketch.
that would be my concern. If you put that sidewalk right next to the ditch, and then you're like telling people, the kids to walk on it, and
Yeah.
they're right next to
Or
it.
do you
I'm
have
gonna ride
a-
bike next to a hedge, you learn quick.
yeah,
stay
you
on
put
the sidewalk.
a couple bushes there or something, I mean,
But could be there be a gap, I mean,
Yeah, if they drop off, it's, you know, gonna have to be protected. I mean,
Well, you'd be
is there
falling
room-
on
is there room to
concrete.
run a sidewalk? If there's a drop off there, then it'd have to have a rail, that's all. I mean, you wouldn't be able to get around with it, would you? Is there room to run a sidewalk
yeah, you're only talking
20
2 foot
feet
lip.
away from it?
On that side.
I mean, I know that,
Yeah.
that mowing would be,
So
I
you
like
got-
that
yeah,
idea,
a lot more
like
weedy
rocks
and
and then
everything
a
else.
sidewalk, you know, and then grass.
I'd have to go up with
we'd
the-
have to,
Yeah,
then you'd have, but then
flowers,
you run into
something.
the water.
You
For the-
look at the street.
That would be low enough that all the water runs.
Again, if you look, you picture the street, the street covers the storm sewer, so the sidewalks
South.
are.
On the south side.
Yeah.
Where we're
So
gonna-
you're in quite a ways,
Yeah, I mean, do what you want to.
So then,
So look up here, you look at the side of the street was wider.
He does better when I'm not around. I'm not around yelling at him.
Is the bottom of that, that's more or less lateral or something?
There's room up to the sidewalk.
So your
I
sidewalks
envision
all
it being
front.
Right.
Right.
I don't put it in the long.
So,
term, maybe
my
flat.
thought is, yeah, 40,000
No,
here, right?
I feel like it'd be,
40K
yeah, if.
for $100,000, take and put a sidewalk right there, easily.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I mean,
Once we start
you're saving
setting
money,
forms,
fixes
you
little
know,
problems.
I mean, and
Yeah, it might not look
definitely
quite as
you guys
fancy,
involved.
but
City wants to be involved. You know, just, I want to make it right.
You guys are thinking the way I'm thinking, the ditch, something.
the ditch,
side.
something
Right.
sidewalk, you save, what would that sidewalk run? Not $100,000.
No, you'd have four, so say 500 feet,
Yeah.
I would say, I don't know, you could probably go with 4 foot, but a lot of sidewalks in town are 5 foot. But if you
What's
want-
our new standard? What's our,
I think the committee, the engineering students did 5.
Okay,
we have
so
something
you
we
got
have to do
400
when you
feet?
Go
get
500
our money or,
times 5 times,
It has to match in with your
Wow.
existing.
is that what it is?
Mhm.
Pull 5, put a sidewalk beside it. So you got $90,000 in savings, not putting a culvert in and getting pushed off. Well, whenever, when
But
the
not-
project gets started.
so are you talking sidewalk in between the church and the ditch? Okay, the only issue with that's gonna be is all this water that's running from the church to the ditch is gonna, that sidewalk's gonna either have to be set low enough that the water runs over top of it, and
Yeah.
still continues and gets to the ditch,
Gotcha.
which can be done, but that would be, I mean, good point, I think.
But a sidewalk could go there eventually. We could do something.
I mean, it definitely, I can pour a sidewalk anywhere, I think that would be more.
I'm not doubting you.
No, I'm just, I think it'd be more, like, the church is kind of.
Right.
And we would have to,
you know,
we would have to get
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
not,
yeah.
the group back together for Gary and I to
yeah, that's
commit
not
to that.
a decision.
Yeah.
Certainly an option, just sitting
Yeah.
here trying to throw out ideas. And if it's feasible, I'm certain anything within reason, and you guys have all been reasonable, we can work it out. I'm saying, we really want that ditch fixed. So
Yeah.
if we can accommodate that by trying to find out a place for that sidewalk that makes sense and it fits in the big picture, I'm sure we would be strongly considered. I can't give you the commitment, but we're willing to work, I mean, with anybody.
And I think we're all with you on that, I mean, we want it to get fixed, but, you know, just making sure we do the right long-term way, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I guess to me, you know, it just boils down to spending money, taxpayer money, smartly, I guess is my biggest thing,
Yeah, I
so.
think that, yeah, I think that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and
Right,
this-
we're-
yeah, and
we're all
this is-
spending it, it's everybody's money, we wanna spend it the right way.
Right,
And this
Right.
$20,000 is $20,000.
Right.
And the same as far as the church money, we wanna make sure it's spent correctly.
Boy, you don't wanna spend $40,000 to cover it up in 5 years.
No, that's
Well, there-
exactly right.
That's, yeah. that's-
So again, what's the big scheme of things? Because we won't cover it up, you won't cover it up in 5 years. If you do it, you're gonna avoid certain projects because you're not gonna waste the money you just did.
Yes.
So you're gonna wait 20 years before you do it.
So, I mean, again, I go back to priority and that's what council needs to decide.
Okay, well, I'm gonna throw it out there, we'll see where it goes. So, I'm gonna make a motion to approve the quote from County Line Concrete for the ditch improvement by St. Joe's Catholic Church.
Do you wanna have anything in there money-wise? There's a quote. Come over.
With the same thing. With a quote, I wanna leave a little room here. With the quote that was submitted, with the church paying 50% of the project cost.
I wanna include extra fill if needed.
And room to approve if there's any extra, cost for fill.
Okay.
You get all that, Teresa? That
Yep.
sound okay? That's my motion.
Second?
I'll second.
And roll call, please.
Matt Girardi,
Yes.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
JT Thompson,
Yes.
Rich Peterson,
No.
Matt Peterson.
No.
Thank you, guys, we appreciate it. All your
Thanks,
time,
gentlemen.
efforts, and coming in. Good discussion, so,
And we'll be in touch.
yep.
know what and when you need from us or what has to happen next.
Okay,
Thank you.
sounds good.
Thanks,
Thanks,
everyone.
guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Okay. Let's move on to number 8, discuss and consider hiring Jake Peterson for part-time seasonal help starting May 16th.
Jacob was our only application,
Okay.
so it made it
Is it easy?
really easy.
His experience.
Perfect.
He's got the experience and,
That's kinda surprising. Well, maybe not this day and age.
Yeah.
Well, they didn't advertise for it.
What's that?
They didn't advertise for the position.
we posted it.
It was a rant, yeah.
And will this be his third summer?
Yes.
So we gotta make a motion to approve, to hire him then?
Yes.
I'll make a motion to hire Jacob Peterson for a part-time seasonal help.
Second?
No wage on it?
It's on the second one.
It's on the second one.
My computer says.
Second.
Oh,
I forgot the password.
Yeah.
Don't worry, I
Put
been
it on
on
my
my
password.
Can I use your password?
Did
So-
we second?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay. Roll call, please.
Rich Peterson,
Yes.
Matt Peterson,
Yes.
Matt Girardi,
Yep.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
JT Thompson.
Yes.
Okay, number 9, approve resolution 2022-36, setting the pay for part-time employee Jake Peterson.
So in the resolution, last year, we started him at $10. We gave him a $1 raise last year, and this resolution is giving him a $1 raise for coming back this year, which makes the wage $12 an hour.
Sounds reasonable.
It's good.
I'll make a motion to approve the wage of $12 an hour for Jacob Peterson for summer help.
Second?
Second.
Roll call, please.
Matt Peterson,
Yes.
Matt Girardi,
Yeah.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
JT Thompson,
Yes.
Rich Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, number 10, discuss and consider approving a FitCor course committee member, Patty Hoffman, applying for the DRA, Dubuque Racing Commission, core grant for up to $50,000 for the FitCor course.
So the Dubuque Racing Commission has changed, their grants. It used to be you just got $2,500. And now they've made it so that there is a core grant, which is the $50,000 one. And then there's a mission grant for up to $500,000. So what Patty has asked is if she can go ahead for the FitCor course and apply for this $50,000 grant. Which, in fairness to Patty, kind of, council had given her kind of blanket approval to be able to apply for grants. But Patty asked me if she had the ability to go forward with this one. And I said I needed to bring it to council, and, you guys could approve or not.
So is there any, the issue I have with grants is they're always hidden agendas and hitting extra money somebody's gotta come up with. Is this just like,
This
you
is-
get it or you don't?
This is,
Pretty black.
you either get it or you don't,
Okay.
and you don't even have to have a match for it, so.
And if we were to get it, what, is there I mean, I assume there's a time frame that would have to be spent in.
Usually there's a year, but what I've noticed with some of these grants, if they know you're going to be moving forward and you're just kind of short of money, they will give you an extension.
What's the time, what's the goal to have it completed by? It depends on funds, I assume, obviously, but.
Yes, originally the plan was, to see what they have for funding and money. And, I think they even asked for, if they could get a per piece quote in case they can't get the whole, I think the prices now went up to like 130 some thousand, 135, 37. So what they're looking at is, you know, is that obtainable? You know, this 50,000 grant, if they got that, that would really do a lot for them.
So that they could get to a point, so they wouldn't lose any grants, even if they could get them extended, they could just do a half of it, or a third, or two-thirds,
Yes.
or whatever it takes.
Yes.
To make sure they don't lose any money.
Yes.
That was my kind of understanding too, was they were looking at different options and maybe scale back a little bit.
Or doing like, yeah, a phased approach.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, if there's nothing hidden and no other kind.
That's always my concern. I mean, grants are great, but, man, they really,
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are, yeah, you're right, some of them there is underlying,
This one's a sweet,
yeah, like I said, it's either you either get it or you don't.
and it looks like it's going to be something every year, so we can have this on our radar. And even like the $500,000 one, you know, looking at our projects and pulling it together, cause it can be multiple projects that it could help us with.
where are they at with the, how much money do they have raised already for this?
I don't know what they have after the golf outing, but they have like, I'm just rounded it up,
Yeah, just something.
58,000.
This grant would do. Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna be competitive.
Yeah, so they,
And I know Patty is applying for some other smaller ones too, so.
Yep, we're trying.
The wish is for me.
no, she wants to put all the work into it and there's no attachments to it
Yeah.
that I don't have an issue.
Do we need a motion or?
If you could give a motion and then I'll send Patty an email and say it.
Make a motion to, approve Patty Houghton to apply for the, Dubuque Racing Commission program.
Second? Second. Roll call please.
Matt Girardi,
Yeah.
Adam Ryder,
Yes.
JT Thompson,
Yes.
Rich Peterson,
Yes.
Matt Peterson.
Yes.
Okay, number 11, update on the IISC student presentations that were held on May 5th. So that was last Thursday, so.
Adam was there also. Adam, would
Good for
you?
you, Adam.
I seen you out there when I drove.
Yeah, I saw JT driving by.
I heard it went good. I heard that from a couple people that were there. They were really impressed with.
It was a really nice presentation, the, kind of, summary of what they presented to us. They actually have 3 different options for up on School Street. And Hannah, one of the students there were 3 students presenting. Hannah actually, and you were there, Adam, if you wanna speak up to her award she received.
I think it was just kind of like for the School Street part in particular, where, you know, kind of just the design sidewalk, you know, where you kind of basically marked out, you know, just kind of throwing out lower cost options as opposed to, you know, obviously if you're putting sidewalks on the south side of School Street where there's none now, I mean, there's a lot of hurdles, so, you know, one idea she came up with was, and, you know, there'd be, you know, potentially some concerns with that, you know, losing parking on that side, but basically painting a walkway on the existing street where there wouldn't be any,
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
can't
If
walk.
you see
Right.
that mural down there, that colorful down there
yeah.
in the down below, yeah. She actually worked with Denise Larson at the school, and the students actually drew up samples.
Oh, wow.
And the school actually would commit to maintaining that area in front of the school with the mural, which
Really?
we thought it was really cool
Yeah.
because, you know,
Yeah, that is
it just gets the buy-in from
Yeah.
the kids and a feeling of pride.
And I thought even if you didn't go with that, ultimately where you ran that,
Here's the schools.
you know, that painted area all the way down the street, even if you did paint it in front of the school, that'd be,
A
it'd
cool,
look cool, yeah. 'Cause they've got it all marked off where you can't park there now anyway.
yeah. So they're actually, they did, the school street, they did, a trail out to Geno's, Dollar General and Geno's. And then they also did, getting connected from the walking path over to the bike trail. And they also looked at the, ADA compliancy down on 64. So they looked at those two areas. And they said even though they knew we had quotes and different things, for the experience, they still wanted to look at that. So they're putting together all the materials, and I'll have their PowerPoint, and we'll actually be able to go through all that. But it was really cool. They did a really awesome job.
Yeah, that's really well presented right
But I think, didn't they say that the final report will be out on the website once it's all done? I
Yeah,
mean, not for ours and then all the other projects they
Yeah.
presented.
yeah, yeah. So after this presentation, then it goes back to the instructors to go through and review. And then once they've done their review, then it goes to Travis, who is the IISC coordinator, to make sure everything that is needed for us is packaged and ready to deliver. So they figured that would probably be middle to end of month we'd get that, of June,
Oh,
yeah,
awesome.
so sometime in June. So it's really cool, so they sent that poster back, so I thought, well, we'll hang it,
Yeah.
that way everybody can look at it.
Absolutely. Okay.
Did you have any, I kinda talked a lot.
No, I think you hit the main points. I mean, there's a lot to chew on there, a lot of different projects. I think if you go up close to it, I think it doesn't have a breakdown of the cost for each that they kind of figured.
Yeah, I think that,
The total cost is 255.5.
Yeah, if you did all of the projects. And I think it was the lowest cost option of all of the projects, right?
the mural was, yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And, the mural, to do that, to designate, side of the street for sidewalk on School Street. So you'd go to one side of the street for parking, the other side would go for sidewalk. That's $18,000. So they found a reasonably cost solution, and then after that, you're talking, I think it was over $100,000 for both of the other solutions.
Yeah.
But then looking, and then they recognize the barriers, the issues. Because you get into, you know, retaining walls have come out into the right of way, and, you know, how are you going to address that? And, you know, it's just nice to have some different options, especially, I know that's been a bone of contention. Why do I have to have a sidewalk if you don't have one? So,
Right.
you know, sometimes it's introducing an option and then going another direction, but options are good.
If I can, with this, this area of School Street from the 400 block, essentially all the way to the west side, you know, since I've been here, we've had like 3 accidents, parked cars. Just one here, we had 2 cars that were hit, and then I know 2 others. So, I mean, this probably wouldn't be a bad idea to help keep the cars off the road on both sides. Not to say there's not enough room for it, but obviously there's a lot of accidents just in this 1.5 block radius.
I think the
Like Matt
party,
stated, if you're driving down it and there's cars parked on both sides, you have to stop and let one come. You can't have parked cars on both sides and 2 cars fit through.
Well, I think it also depends on the driver too.
Right.
It's getting a little cool, but, slowing down, that kind of stuff. But,
Yeah.
but for the most part, I would totally agree with you, but, I guess that was, and then I guess what the other part of that is too, I think I'm talking with Jack about, putting, speed signs like we did on West Street down in front of that church, because it seems to work on West Street, or on West Street, they've slowed down. In fact, I think the one, your neighbor across the street said that he was happy with how the traffic slowed down, and maybe we could do that same thing there. I think it's just making sure that people understand that, hey, just because there's maybe not a lot of houses, it's still 25, in that area. So I guess just giving you my 2 cents worth on that whole.
Yeah, I think the problem there at School Street is, on the school side, if you did, get rid of no parking on that side, and you went to the other side, you got all the mailboxes over there.
Yeah.
It's like, so, it's like, okay, cause I do like the idea of like, okay, that would save a lot of money, you could walk in that. But if you force everyone to park on the other side,
Right.
then what do we do with all those mailboxes?
Is it the school kids that are parking along there, or is it?
I think the accident we just had the other day, or I should say the hit and run, both those vehicles that were parked there were owned by the people that live in front of the house.
Gotcha.
I think the school kids now with the parking lot being as big as it is.
That's what I was curious if.
I think it's just residents that.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Right.
You just don't have
Residents, work
Yeah,
vehicles.
exactly.
You got work vehicles out there, and so everybody's,
Yeah. What it used to be before they expanded the parking lot, when you had an event, there'd be people parked for
All the way
school
to the
events all the
church.
way down,
Oh,
yeah, pretty much down to the church. Whereas now, yeah,
And
it's,
back around the shop parking lot.
I think that parking lot for a huge asset.
yeah.
That is very handy, yeah, you can't have it parked. But I agree, it gets pretty tight in there sometimes.
well, and then I guess just within the last 6 months, the number of accidents, this is kind of
Yeah.
unheard of what I've ever seen for a small town, and, unfortunately, they're not all caused by speed, it wasn't paying attention, or drunk driving, or whatever have you.
I just think there's a lot of volume, there's a lot of traffic on School Street, so the amount of cars driving up and down that road every day, it's just probably just a bunch of highway.
It's the main thoroughfare, that's
Yeah.
for sure.
And more
People
cars.
will use it just, avoid 64, they'll cut the gravel and cut through there and just go through town.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them cut across and then go down West Street, and that's what we kind of, I think, I don't like to think that kind of, just from observing, that's slowed down since we've got the speed signs in there, that's, really not saving me any time to do that, so.
Okay. Well, yeah. That's very well presented.
Yeah, it's neat.
So as I get, more of those presentations and information, I will, bring it to you guys and we'll go through it. Then maybe what we can do is prioritize, we're talking about grants, there's a lot of grant money out there. And a lot for tourism. You're gonna notice another one of my, items on the agenda is just, it's looking at grants. And the nice part of it is some of these things that were on the goal setting, that was done with council, are the things that actually council said, let's get the IISC students to work on these items. And so, we got a plan, and that's always something you need.
Well, yeah, that'll be very, helpful, just a comprehensive plan and all that stuff. It's
Cause we always say you need to have the plan if
Right.
you
Right.
are looking for a grant.
Yep. This gets the conversation started.
Yep.
Okay, wonderful. Move on to number 12, update on meeting with IISC representative Travis Kraus and the mural artist on May 6th, but that's gonna change, right? Or no?
We had that meeting on Friday.
That was a different meeting? Oh, okay, May 6th.
May
Sorry.
6th.
I was thinking.
Comprehensive.
It's
Yeah,
May.
yeah, yes, sorry.
So,
Long day, Mayor.
they were in town. the muralist is Ally, and I think pronounce her last name Havel. And she actually has a connection with Brenda Kunau's daughter. They're friends. So it's really kind of cool what a small world it is. But Ally came with Travis and they looked at the coffee shop, the wall, liked the condition of the wall and said this looks really good, really pleased. Some of the things, we have a committee, Dana Olson, Brenda Kunau, Jamie Borman, Denise Larson came to a couple of the meetings. Trying to think if I'm missing anyone, but we had a group of different community members to discuss, what should the mural in Preston be. And what they came up with and actually sent to Ally, and just so you know, she is not a student. She actually started as an IISC part of this program, and she is now at the university as a visiting assistant professor. She's done quite a few murals, so we're not getting somebody that hasn't done this before. And so the group made a list of things that they feel in particular, are hoping that she can mix them in, and they're particular to Preston. They didn't really have a color preference, but they would like it to be colorful. And if you disagree or agree, or you have other ideas, let me know, because she's in the midst of drawing. But some of the items that they would like to see, and what they're wondering is, like on the front of the building where there's that brown like stucco, could it be like the bicycle trail with the bicycle on it that falls into place with the...
Oh, the whole tops,
the whole top part.
10 foot or whatever it
And
is.
then she thought what would be cool, because the brick is nice. One of the things they mentioned, that was mentioned is the book, because education and the library are important with the school and the library being here. And she said, well, it could actually be an open book. And then within the open book, they mentioned agriculture is important, with Kunau implement being in town so long.
Probably a red tractor on it, huh?
Well, they said they didn't necessarily need a tractor or
They
a
don't care
combine
about
or
color.
corn.
That maybe be red.
A windmill, the parks, the running, walking, bicycle, basketball, a flag representing the United States, saying it doesn't need to be like right out there in your face, that it would be fun to hide the flag in there where you have to look. So if we do more murals in town, it could be a fun thing to go find the mural and then where's the flag? Kind of
And
like
it helps with tourism activities and things to do, right?
yes. Service, the fire department, the ambulance, family, church, pizza. Geno's has been in town for years and years. The bees, she thought that was really cool.
Picture mural of Trey on it.
You guys think about the bees, they've been around,
Fire
Long
department.
time, yeah.
Long fire trucks, they're cool.
Technology, bench and lights, and the shop local theme. So they gave her lots of things to kind of come up with something. So, and that was the goal, is give ideas on what you think is important for the town. I held back a little bit, kind of got the conversation going in that. But I think this is a really important thing for the input of the people that are living in Preston and have lived here for years, as far as a community. So,
I think it's awesome, and to give a committee like that wants to go volunteer their time, the freedom to come up with some of that, I think is awesome. One question I have, so, is there any prep that needs to be done? There's gonna be a lot of effort put into this. Is there any prep that needs to be done to the building? Like if it's the brick, does it need to be Nothing?
We may have to power wash it, that'd be it. She actually looked at it and it's been well maintained. I mean, looked it over and, I mean,
She's
they'll,
good with her canvas, huh?
yeah. And, Dick and Brenda Kunow offered, their space, their apartment space above Old City Hall. And so we went down there and she got to tour that, so she was really excited. And Tom McNeil also offered, space that she could stay there. So it's just nice to have community members that, you know, come forward and say, you know, hey, she's not expecting it to take that long. So she'll probably come on Monday, and if weather's all good, when she leaves on Friday, it'll probably be done.
Wow.
It's,
And this would happen when?
she's thinking, because of the rain, she's got some projects that have been pushed off. She's probably thinking, it'll be this summer, it'll be July. She's thinking somewhere in July is kind of what she's
What's the
shooting for.
longevity? How long will it, her
That was my
paint
one, yeah, that was my one.
last? Does it need
It
touched
should,
up? Will it, you
well,
just let it go?
they use the right kind of paint. And then, I think there's kind of like a coating that goes over, a sealer that goes over the top.
That's what I wondered, is there something that they put on initially and then we have to reapply?
Yeah,
See
and
if
that,
there's-
Yeah,
and that's one of the things, the maintenance I would ask her.
yeah.
But, anymore you go to any town, I mean, Bellevue's doing another one now. I think the Grantwood Loop, the byways, they're doing one in Bellevue right now for them. So it seems like every town you go to, murals are really becoming the big thing.
So it won't, it'll wrap around to the front up on top and not down any
No,
lower than that?
not into the brick. And she's also talking about, you know, cause the brick is beautiful, and even the brick on the side, she wants to try to keep some of that uniqueness. So I mean, it is a beautiful building, and the brick has been well maintained, so.
Yeah, I think that'd be cool if she could incorporate, you know, wrap it around the front and hide that stuff over a little bit. That would be very neat.
So, that's all I have on that.
Okay.
That's what you think?
Yeah, no, that's exciting, that's, be a nice addition. Okay, unless there's any other questions, we'll move on to 13, discuss alternatives for marketing, the Harvest Heights subdivision. Teresa's got some ideas.
I've got some thoughts on this, yeah, on a direction, if this is a direction you'd like me to go. I mean, we're gonna have our new logo, Your Place to Grow, and I'm thinking maybe, putting together some type of packet, like a folder, and within that folder, you know, our one-page flyer that we handed out, we still have those. Have that in there, have the covenants in there, you know, the businesses that are in Preston, and maybe some, collage of some pictures of Preston in there. Since this would be going, I'm thinking to even getting with, if you would agree, maybe working with a realtor on what they think should be in a packet. You know, the other thing I'd like to throw out to you, would you want to, open this up to realtors? And, I'll be honest, I did not check with anybody to see what's the going rate for commission on an empty lot, but, you know, like a 2% is $600, a 3% is $900, but, you know, would you be willing to sell a lot and give a commission?
How are you gonna distribute your packets? What would your plan be to, where will you go with it once you make them?
My plan would be, to take them to our 2 local banks, and then, to get them to the realtors, and I think in fairness, it would be all our locals, and, and then, once we have that packet together, getting it on our website, directing people from our Facebook page. I mean, those are some thoughts that, to get the ball rolling.
How many realtors do we have? I mean, maybe not just, do we just do it to realtors in town? That the companies are in town, or do it to people that are actually, might be a realtor or work for somebody out of town that live in our community? I'm just throwing it
Oh,
out.
I think getting it,
I think
The
getting
more we can get it out, the better,
everywhere,
but we
right.
wanna support our local, obviously, but.
Well, your MLS system's part of it,
Yeah,
multiplistic, you know.
yeah.
And I think to give some sort of, I mean, I think we need to scale it back, whether it's a 2% or whatever, but whatever we can do to push some of these lots, I think, the faster we can get them out, the more we're gonna get
Right,
revenue
get
to
that-
start coming
yeah.
in. They sit there for 5, 10 years, you're better off to have somebody get a commission off of them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, cause the ultimate
Yeah.
goal is to sell them and hopefully someone build something.
Yeah.
Yep.
and I mean, can also put something maybe a little bit more, reduced, maybe, and send to some of the contractors, you know, some, developers.
It'd be nice to get, how, maybe our realtors can help that too, get us people that build spec homes, that we might get a couple, a person or two that wants to build a spec home.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
So, okay,
Have we gotten, not to get off subject, have we gotten that new logo and stuff to, oh, I know we don't have it yet, but will we get it to like Preston, Development, and those other entities as soon as we get that, so we
Yeah.
can start using that too?
I think we, should figure out some type of, announcement that, you know, how we got there and,
And then anything moving forward, whether it's a T-shirt or a vehicle or stationery, whatever, that, as we move forward, that'll be we'll start adding.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
yeah, that would be nice.
Bring it.
Draw uniform.
I mean, the nice thing is, if it is utility related, correspondence, I mean, it's appropriate to use up our utility letterhead.
Yeah.
But,
Right.
definitely can do the black, letterhead with our new, for any type of correspondence that, is outside of that.
Even on your email, that'll be your new logo,
Yes,
right?
yep.
Perfect, okay. Okay, any other discussion on the marketing or?
Well, we'll leave it to you, Teresa.
I'll do my best.
Okay, 14, discuss and consider applying for a transportation alternative program, TAP grant, minimum of 100,000, maximum of 250,000. It's due in early June.
Really soon.
Yeah.
And I'm looking and this grant comes up every year. So this is definitely something when we're talking safe routes to school. It's, a lot of communities use that option for that. Now, what I'm looking at it for is, it's mentioned in there for storm sewer. So I'm looking at this 250,000, for up at the McNeil, property for that. Because that is, I received an email today, if everything falls in place, the developer would be looking at starting up there in late June,
Like this year?
like this year, June. So,
That's, yeah, that's
6
it's like
weeks.
2-3 weeks away.
oh, tell me about it. I mean, you talk about, this is the first
You don't
that
think you
I've
can start
heard.
any sooner?
Why don't you
I don't
ask?
think so, I hope not. So, working to get things together, have a meeting set up with bond council, I spoke with Mark Rudin about it, looking to set up a conference call with Dave Heyer, the developer, and Mark Rudin and myself, to talk about, storm sewer and what would be the developer's responsibility. Mark is working on that simple plat. He's planning on being here May 23rd for our second meeting with something preliminary. So I'm looking at this here grant for the purpose of storm sewer. And I guess I just wanted to kind of put it out there for you guys so it wouldn't be like a big, where did this come from, out of left field type thing. But I'm also got a contact at USDA. You have to jump through a whole lot more hoops, but there may be grant money or revolving loan fund or something there that we could get some money from that. So trying to find us some money for this project. And then there's all sorts of, right now the grants are crazy. There is, and I received this from a couple different people from Preston Growth and Development. Governor Reynolds, her $100 million investment in Iowa's Quality of Life and Tourism grant. I have a meeting set up with Kelly Dukemeyer from ECIA. They actually had a training on this a week ago on Friday, or informational meeting, to find out, is this something that we could get in on, especially since we've got some trail things going on. So I'm gonna get some details on that. So,
Lots of possibilities.
oh, lots of, yeah. And it doesn't look like they're shutting the money off anytime real soon, so. We did get our grant in and answered all their questions and got them additional information for that CDBG COVID grant for Town Hall. So keep your fingers crossed on that one. That would be a really good one.
Will that come this year?
Yes, yep. And Preston Times, we had to get first at least 60,000 draw on that Catalyst grant. Got that submitted, got it approved, now we're just waiting on the money. Filed the extension, cause that grant comes up June 4th. So got that filed. I'm gonna check on that, cause I haven't heard back on that, but, so everything's moving forward, and as you can see with the building up there, it was just on Facebook today. I knew they were pouring the concrete, so the basement has now been filled.
I was gonna ask, looks like they filled it in and poured it. That's,
Yeah.
when that's done, when you come from the west, that's gonna be sharp.
Yeah.
That's a heck of a change.
Yes. Yes.
I think most of the brick, there's some brick that's in bad shape, but a lot of that brick is in really not that bad.
Looks like they just replaced the bottom on the ones, and then they're able to.
Yeah.
It's still look cool.
Yeah,
The bottom was, I think, in the worst shape, and then I noticed, I think, up on the top too.
Right.
There's some decorative up there, working on that stuff too, so, yeah,
It's gonna be neat.
so,
Yeah, building.
yeah. It's gonna look really nice for the
Yeah,
downtown.
Exactly, that's what we've needed for a long
Yeah.
time.
And,
The way it parts the street, I mean, it's right there, you
Yeah.
can't help but look at it.
and hopefully, it's contagious.
Well, yeah, I mean, you think about the mural going
I was
in and
thinking that.
yeah, I mean, and that project. and
Tom's gonna do this facade, he
You're
was
right,
talking about that,
right.
that'll be done this summer too.
Yes.
Yeah,
So,
that's moving in the right direction. It's awesome to see. Okay, any questions on the TAP grant or anything like that? Hopefully we can knock that one and get some money towards the sewer projects. Okay, 15, other business,
just kind of an FYI, Cheryl and I, the ECIA Spring Conference in Dubuque, is tomorrow. Looked at the agenda, And I mean, it's, anytime you go to these conferences, especially when it's so close, it's nice because you do a lot of networking with the others, but looking at the agenda, there was more need for me to be here than there. So we're not attending that. And that's generally how we look at the trainings. If the agenda doesn't look like it's worthwhile, then we skip it. We did not go to the spring IMFOA conference. There just wasn't enough meat in the agenda. So, also on May 27th, both Cheryl and I will be out. I had actually planned on being out 3 months ago. Cheryl did not plan on being out 3 months ago. You know, there's, between the two of us, there's been some different family health issues, so we will have the office closed that day. We do have a good city group. The guys actually ran the office one day when Cheryl needed to be out for her family member and I needed to be out for mine. So great team, and so things have been clicking along. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions? Anything? Thank you.
Thanks, really good.
I guess most of it's on that police report that I gave you. I didn't know if you guys had any questions.
Well, you just got
Threw it
it.
at you, I guess, so.
You
we
got
did-
it about 5 o'clock, so.
We got approved
In your
for a
packets.
$3,000 grant for the Iowa traffic safety, so that will start in October and run through the next October. So that's an overtime, funded for overtime grant for traffic enforcement. And then I think at last meeting I told you about, for a shelter at the gun range was 5,000 from Bellevue and 9,000 from Miles. And talking with Matt to build something just very similar to what's at the campground down there. It'll be with concrete around $3,600. So I figured if you guys had questions or anything like that, otherwise I figured we'd talk about that more at the next council meeting. So everything else I think is relatively going pretty smooth.
Is anybody else willing to help participate in the cost of that, any other departments?
You know, I've talked with the sheriff's office. Right now, this year, we're over on our ammunition budget, and with qualifications, they are gonna go ahead and give us the ammunition to be used for us to do our qualifications. Let's put it this way, previously, too much of one ammunition was bought and not enough of the other. So they were gonna do that. I did talk with the sheriff about, maybe setting, purchasing or having built, some shooting tables, something that, down that road,
There can be some bargaining down the line, is what you're
Yeah.
saying.
No, I think even from the Coconut, we usually shoot at the Hanks, but we do run into issues sometimes there too, and have used this range down here. But they've used our targets, so all the departments help each other out.
And I wanna keep this law enforcement, city employees, anyone who's umbrellaed under the insurance, let them use it. And then, if Matt wants to bring somebody with, more than welcome to, but as long as that city employee is there when that's going on. And then obviously law enforcement would take a priority, and that's, a handful of days a year, so.
Okay, any other, really, is that,
We got our cars washed, I guess, up there.
yeah, I saw that, yeah.
So,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
do.
I'm glad you did that.
Yeah, I was.
The fire truck too, did they?
Yeah. I saw
Yeah.
that.
I tried to budget in front, but that wasn't gonna work well.
No, I was happy to see
They
that.
watched a lot of vehicles.
Yeah, they did.
I think I'm always on time.
National Honor Society.
Oh,
I'm not sure. I heard they were
Donated to-
$1,000.
Yeah, about $1,000 or more.
Yeah. was good. Too bad it wasn't more, the sun wasn't shining, but it was kind of a cool day.
I said it
Sunday
would've been
morning.
better the day before,
Yeah.
the sun was shining.
Yeah.
Okay,
No, I thought that was very good, that was,
yeah. Yep. Okay, does anybody have anything else? Not, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second,
second,
roll call please.
JT Thompson,
yes.
Rich Peterson,
Yes.
Matt Peterson,
Yes.
Matt Girardi,
Yep.
Adam Ryder.
Yes.
Okay,